Everybody, welcome to NUFC Talk TV. A new week and a new day and a new signing. Finally, it looks like the Tune has made an agreement with Elanga with Forest for Elanga. And but anyways, welcome everyone to NUFC Talk TV. We are live again this week. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in last week when I was gone. The channel did amazing. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in, that supports the channel, that smashes the like button. Everybody hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel. Become a member if you can. Help us out. And thank you to Gary for taking care of the whole week hosting. Of course, Andy was there. Boki was there pulling a full shift as well. So appreciate everybody contributing, of course. And all the lads that contribute, that come on, have their opinion said. Their unfiltered opinion, whether we agree or disagree, that's one thing that's never negotiable. We will say what we want to say. But breaking news. And the one that broke the news was earlier today was Mr. Fabrizio Romano, and he's very much a trusted person when it comes to transfers in the football realm of things. And he's saying exclusive Elanga to Newcastle. Here we go. Deal in place, club to club with Nottingham Forest for £55 million. £55 million is what Newcastle will pay. I don't know if it's going to be in a lump sum or in payments, or maybe parts of it will be a lump sum. We're going to discuss that, of course. Is it a good deal? Is it a bad deal? I am excited that we're getting our first signing. I think there's still a lot of work to do to be a squad that you can depend on the players that you got, obviously. But Elanga is a good addition. I think he's a good signing. But good night, everyone. Andy, Boki, and Gary, how are you guys doing? All good?
Very well, thank you.
All
Yeah,
good. It's just broke on Sky Sports as well, just as you start the show, mate.
Exactly. Well, Sky Sports Keith Downey has posted about it. Craig Hope has posted about it, and basically when those three have posted about it, is pretty much a done deal. And we can discuss on whether Elanga can be that that breaking point, I guess, for Newcastle. Whether he can be that one player that can take us to the next level, we'll have to see. We'll have to discuss. I know that in the excitement of it all, it feels like, we just signed a top player, a world-class player, but he's still a good player, and we should be excited about him. But I think there's still a lot of work to do anyway. But, let's start with you then, Andy. What do you think about this new signing, pretty much done deal from Newcastle's side?
First of all, thank God it's actually getting some progress on the deal, because I think everyone was starting to panic a bit on how long it's taking to get our deals done. So that's a positive thing. Also, obviously, we were talking on Thursday about what he's going to bring in attacking sense, and obviously there's the argument about the low block. The one thing I never really took into account was, we are going to be playing teams that are better than us on the ball next season. So that thing that he did do well for Forest is going to come in handy for us as well in the Champions League. When we don't have the ball, we're going to be able to get up the pitch. So I think, yes, it's maybe not the fashionable signing that we were all looking for, but there's definitely a player in there, and there's a lot of progress to go with him. I'm optimistic, but we need another couple in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking about, that you feel good because our deals we were taking too long, but we still took a long time to get this deal over signed. So that doesn't change. Now, some people will say that we could only make deals after July, and it's only been a week. So, all right, that's one way of looking at it. But Boki, what do you think, man? Elanga, here we go.
Yeah, good signing. From what I'm reading, it looks like it is actually 55 million. It's 52 million up front and then 3 million add-ons. So it's not going above 55, which I think if it was any more than that, a lot of people would have had worries on that would overspend on him. I think we'll probably have anyway, but probably only by about 10 million, when I think we were looking at probably, some people are even saying 60 with add-ons on top of that. So I think probably the price is there or thereabouts over what we would want to pay. The one thing I would say that we need to remember is this is really the replacement from January's transfer window, because Miggy Cohen, he's a replacement for him on the right wing. So it's not it's a great signing, but it's not all we need. We need more signings as well.
Yeah, I could agree with that. The thing is, now you talk about a replacement for Almiron. Which is easy to replace, right? He's gone. but is he going to replace Murphy? Could be the more difficult question to answer, or maybe not difficult. Maybe it's not difficult, and maybe it's easy to answer, but depends on who you ask. So, Gary, what do you think about Mr. Elanga joining the ranks of
I mean,
Newcastle?
I'm really pleased. I mean, I've said it all along. I have my concerns about how we play the low block and whether he can adapt and bring us something different. We know he's got the pace. I've showed his athleticism in previous videos where you can see he trains like an athlete.
Yeah.
It's all about speed with Elanga. And he, like I say, you know, he's got there in abundance. I think he's going to be an amazing addition. I really do. And, you know, for me, it's been sticky because, as Boki's already pointed out, it was always going to be the structure. Newcastle wanted to keep as much money in the coffers to keep going in the market. And obviously, the more money we have in our pot, the easier it becomes. So it was always this negotiation on whether they accept the 50 and the 5 million in different ways. But it seems as if now they've hammered out the 52, and then obviously they'll trickle feed the other 3 million down the line. I'm closer to Nottingham where I live, and there's lots of stories that Elanga never wanted to leave. And there's lots of BS flying around, a lot of Nottingham Forest YouTube channels saying that he's turned the move down, and they're up in arms that they're losing a really quality player. And I think people have to remember we could have had Elanga in January. It was the swap deal that finally took, was the nail in the coffin, because us going in for Elanga at the 11th hour didn't allow Nottingham Forest then to replace him, and they wanted Murphy as a replacement. Now, obviously, we'd lost Miggy, so it was very difficult. I mean, Eddie wanted another player in that right wing position. He didn't want to lose a player to gain a player. So it was a case of, it was never going to go through in January. But he's obviously kept his finger on the pulse. Elanga's had a decent season in a Forest system that plays very differently to what we see Eddie Howe play. So again, I think, as Andy's mentioned, I think it's going to be very good for us in the Champions League. And when people say, he's going to step up in a team that will support him more in his football. So are we going to see a difference to Elanga's game? I hope so. But at the end of the day, mate, it's positive. Everybody was on a downer because of the signing of Ruddy and everything else. And I think it's, like I said, it's the timing of these things coming out. But I think the reasons why it took so long is because it was, Elanga's changed agents as well halfway through pre-season. So he's having to deal with obviously new agents, working alongside agents. He's obviously then got to wait to see how the structure and the payments are going to be made. So it's about being patient, and we said that. But for me, I'm glad it's done. It's signed, sealed, and delivered, and we can move on to the next target.
Well, at least our first signing is done. Fabrizio Romano says agreement also in place with Players Camp on long-term deal. Excellent addition for Newcastle. That's what he's saying. When it comes to Craig Hope here, saying that exclusive Elanga to Newcastle is on. Issues evolving intermediaries. Is that how you say it?
Intermediaries.
My
it's
goodness.
Intermediaries.
It's a way to complicate. You just fucking say it easy, man.
Between both parties.
Anyway, resolved today. Elanga in Portugal, but medical is said to be scheduled at any moment. I mean, I guess the preseason started today, by the way. So he better get that scheduled immediately. So he can also do it in Portugal. Whatever, they got medical.
That would ring true, Chris, because I don't know if anyone else has seen the video that he's posted on his Twitter.
We're going to get to this one. Is this the video you're talking about when he's sprinting? I mean, that kid is
10 point something. Was it 10.39 seconds for the 100 meters?
You're about to see right there. No, it's like 3.9, 39.75.
That's his max speed.
Yeah.
I'd still be there now.
Look at that,
I couldn't do that if I caught the buzz, mate. Never mind.
That is crazy, man. That is a fast boy. Of course, he's got the
10.93. Wow.
He has to run with the ball, which is a lot tougher than running by himself. But he's still a fast guy, and I think it's going to.
Portugal.
Yeah.
That round as well.
That doesn't look like Portugal, you said?
It looks like Portugal. I've been to it.
Okay.
Just me, the Portugal. Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, he's in Portugal. I don't know. I guess to train. I mean, but why couldn't he train in unless they got specific places they go to? These players.
No, well, I think if you notice now with a lot of players that are on the fringe of moving, the parent clubs tell them to stay away and do the training solo, because one thing they don't want is for them to come in, because, we start in a new era now. There's going to be a lot of tactical talk and everything else.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to be doing now is talking, about your set tactics for the Premier League season that's coming up.
Yeah.
And then this guy moves to a club that you're going to be facing in the near future. So, like I say, that a lot of them are told to stay and do work away from the ground until, obviously, one way or the other, he's either going to stay with us or he's going to go.
Folks, hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Don't forget to do that. Help us out. Very important. Bookie, go ahead.
I think that was the chat that's just on what Gary was saying. I think that was the chat this morning as well. I think Nottingham Forest started their pre-season the day as well.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
to stay away from training.
I mean, the clubs know pretty much when there's a minor thing that will eventually get over the deal over the line, or something that won't, and the player will have to train, or they know that it's not going to be a deal done. But obviously, in this scenario, they knew it was just a matter of time. Keith Downey doubling down for Sky Sports. 55 million is the number that everybody has. The winger is set to travel to Tyneside for medical once the loose ends of the agreement are tied up, but a framework is now in place for a deal to go through, as per Craig Hope. Personal terms will be no problem, and the Swedish international is excited at the prospect of playing in Champions League. He's 23 years of age, man. That is still a lot of future ahead. It's set to team up with compatriot Alexander Isak, and he's very good friends with the other Scandinavian, Osula, who doesn't get playing much, but nevertheless, I don't know how they became friends, to be honest, because they're both young guys, I guess. But how old is Osula? 21, 20?
He's 22, isn't he? Coming 22.
Well, they're about the same age then. So,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, all right, yeah. So, never mind. So, yes, ladies and gents, Elanga joining Newcastle United to be the first signing, the first team signing seen on Tyneside since who? Tonali?
Osula.
Oh, well, yeah, but no, Osula's not. I said first team signing, which he might be first team player now, sort of, kind of, but he's not really. But no, like a proper signing would be like Tonali, probably.
Yeah.
Or when was Harvey Barnes? Before Tonali? Something? Yeah, maybe it was. But same year, same window, I think.
Yeah.
So, since then, we haven't signed anybody that's really, that can get people excited. And here's the thing. Elanga creates a discussion of opinions. Some people like him. Some people think we overspending. But some people love it. Some people like him. But that is what you want. If you get a young player that nobody likes, 100% disapproval rating, then you're really in a bad place. That we didn't sign a good player. But Elanga, I think, can do a job, and a little more than just doing a job, actually. So, I'm excited to see what he can do for Newcastle. What was that? A rabbit? What was that? A frog? But people in the chat, Choppy has a question for the panel. Will Champions League money pay for Elanga this season? Well, I guess it depends how far you get. But
Yep.
I mean, I guess not really. I mean, the winner gets how much? I don't know.
I think you only get about 40-odd million for winning the Champions League.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's 80-odd million. 80-odd million for winning.
The thing is, you got to make it as far as you can. And as long as you give it a go, that's good enough for everybody, I think.
It's the prestige. I think it's the prestige, the
100%.
sponsorships, things like that get you the money. I don't, and the gate receipts. If you think, that's what Villa cooped on, because they had lots of home games in the Champions League. They got to a decent level, but that's what they relied on. Those extra gate receipts. I mean, was it 95 quid a ticket at times at the Villa Park, I think, for Champions League football. It was extortionate money. They were really taking a pee out of the fans, if I'm honest with you. And I'm like I say, I don't think Newcastle will be anywhere near that. But you're going to get a full house virtually every game, and it doesn't matter who you play.
Yeah, well, that's something else that we don't take in consideration. I mean, the UEFA is going to give you money, but obviously the extra tickets, all of that stuff, it's going to count. And TV,
More
well,
importantly,
I
it's
think
if we qualify next season for the Champions League. For me, that's where you're really getting the money, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay, we've got
if you can
Champions
do
League
it
to
back
play
to
this
back.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's the goal, right? The goal is to make it as many times as we can, and I think we're in a good position to do that. If we I guess maintain the level of play. I mean, if we keep adding players, that's going to be great. But players like Osula will only help that. So, like I said, I'm excited for him. I really want to see what he can do. And to be honest, the preseason has started. Well, training has started. And Jolinton's come back home now. Everybody really that's been overseas. I think Bruno as well was seen. Everybody that's supposed to be back on the team is back. And so now we got, I think, 40 days until the first Premier League game again. But what about preseason? When's the preseason start?
19.
I mean,
Celtic,
N-
Yeah, Celtic.
Yeah,
And
Celtic.
like I say, 10,000 tickets, away tickets. So unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough in the ballot because I love the Celtics ground. It's an amazing ground.
you'd probably get one of their tickets if you went up there, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean it's a gamble though, Andy. To travel all that way to sit outside and like pay through the bloody nose for
Plenty of good
for a
balls, though.
friendly. I mean, trust me, I would certainly have done it if it was a big game and it meant something. But we'll be watching along anyway, so I won't miss much.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be doing that.
I
Every
think it's
match, every
Back in the Future. Here, keep disappearing and reappearing
I
again.
can bet. I froze there for a second as well. So, any last thoughts on Elanga? I mean, I think he's a proper play. Now, you have a question though. You've been questioning Gary about his defensive attributes, and I guess that's a good question to have.
It's like I said, it's the style. You've got to think about, Nottingham Forest played on a draw the opposition onto you, play a deep line, two banks, and leave an anchor like Liverpool leave Salah. They look at some like an out ball, and Elanga gives you that. But I love the talk that Elanga does where he says, "Well, when do you make your run?" He says, "Well, I've always got my eye on the midfielder." And when we train, we do a set piece, and when that player gets the ball, I make my run. But every game it changes to a different player, but it has to go to a player who can deliver the ball. And I was looking and contemplating on how many teams last season pressed us compared to how many times we pressed them, because that's obviously the intensity was the identity at one point. It changed somewhat last season. I don't know whether Eddie changed it because of bunts, because of the injuries, the lack of players, or whether it was a fact that Eddie realises that playing that way all the time, in actual fact, as we saw the season before, we were caught on the break with that out ball, even against the likes of Nottingham Forest, who Chris Wood went and got a hat-trick against us. So you've got to think that sometimes by pressing high up the field, you sometimes leave the door open at the back. And that's what Nottingham Forest did to a lot of opposition last year, and they used Elanga's pace. My concern is, how does he adapt to Eddie Howe's style of play against teams that do the low block against us? Because he doesn't seem the player. Yet he's got a bit of skill, and yet he can beat a player on pace. But 9 times out of 10, when we come up against opposition that sit low, there isn't the pace to run behind, or there isn't the space, I should say, to run behind. So that's the only concern. But like I say, as a signing, I think he's an exciting player. Like I say, we've got a 5-year contract with him. We've already got a relationship building up with Osula, and we know Isak. So that could, as daft it looks, make Isak's next move, whether he does decide to sign a contract extension with us. Mate, these are the little jigsaw pieces that you fit into your puzzle that could end up with a contract signing sooner rather than later.
I don't know about you as well, but you look at his social medias and you hear the rumours of how professional he is. Straight after training, he's apparently the same type that focus on recovery, focus on his diet. If Osula wants someone there next to him to help him get to the next level and start pushing for the first team, okay, it's not improving his football ability, but if he can become the type of athlete that Elanga is, it's only going to stand him in good stead. And if you've got someone else there to help you, it's not a bad thing. And
No.
we've seen Osula. He's rapid as well. He's explosive like Elanga. And if you can try and not mold his game on Elanga, but learn off Elanga, then it's only going to do him good in the long run.
Well, how much of influence have been, you think, Isak and even Osula to a certain extent to get Elanga through the doors? You know,
I think he's done more in 2 weeks than Paul Mitchell did in 12 months.
I think that's it's something to think about. Because I mean, Elanga's a player that will, I think, players in the team will see. That's a good signing. We'll see what he can do. But it's a good signing.
I mean, there was a fantastic meme out on social media. I don't know whether you see it while you're on Jollies. Somebody had put Asula's head in a Paul Mitchell suit, and it looked so funny.
Well, maybe so, but I wonder because that may have. But the thing is, you're not always going to have that. So again, I still question, and maybe that's a little bit of a negative on my end. That how much of a pool do we have right now with certain individuals? We won't know.
Players do talk, Chris. Players will always talk to see what it's like in the background.
Well, exactly. I have no doubt that Elanga has asked Osula and Isak, if we should join, what it's like, and all that. So I have no doubt.
But to flip that, Pedro plays with Bruno and Joe Linton, hasn't he? And
but by the way, we tend to think that that's. I mean, I'm saying that because I do see Elanga's relationship with those two on social media and everything else. But just because they're Brazilian doesn't mean that they're friends or they even talk to each other like that. So and plus. Well, I don't know about the age difference, but I think João Pedro might be a little bit younger, or is he the same? Is he the same age? Regardless, maybe they're not. Maybe he didn't ask.
I think the other thing is though as well. Just going on what Boki was saying there is Boki. You've got to understand that the family, John Pedro's family, have been brought up in and around London through his Watford games, and his family have always had a pull of going back to London. So when he moved to Brighton, they visited London regular basis to go back to meet friends and things like that. So I think there was always going to be a pull to get him away from the approach from Chelsea. As soon as they come knocking, I think it was only one way. I mean, apparently he was seen virtually 48 hours after looking for properties in London. So even without any notice from whether the deal had gone through or not, you knew where he wanted to be.
You'd imagine the money's going to be a little bit more as well.
Well, of course it is, but yeah. But I mean, he's going to have to spend more for living in London, isn't he? So you'd want a bit more in your pocket.
Yeah, true, very true. Now, other rumors have come out today about one that was, I think, debunked. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think somebody said that we're not interested in him, or that Newcastle were offered Calvert-Lewin, and we quickly and politely declined. So what do you think about it? Some people do rate him and wouldn't mind him for a season or two. Now, actually, before that, because kind of correlates the same players. The two players are kind of the same, which is Callum Wilson, obviously being confirmed that he is leaving the club after how many years? 5 years.
Under 5 years.
So 5 years, and so he's leaving the club. I guess people are going to be happy about that because they got upset over. And listen, I criticize. I don't think that Callum Wilson has done as of late enough to continue to be a Newcastle United player. But I don't wish him bad. I mean, I just don't. I think it's a business move to just not renew his contract, and the club has done that. I thought that was clear when he played his last game, and it looked like he was saying goodbye to everybody. But then again, the reports came out that Newcastle might be interested in renewing his contract. So, do you guys think that the club did think about it? Craig Hope says a pay-as-you-play deal was on the table, but after 5 seasons and 49 goals, his time was up at Newcastle. So, what do you guys think about Callum Wilson leaving after a good amount of years in the tune?
I think you thank him for his service. He's been, I mean, especially during the Ashley time, He was an excellent player and scored a lot of goals. But at this point, his time was up. It was time for him to move on, and I think all you can do is wish the lad the very best. I think if he goes to somewhere like Leeds or even down into the Championship, he'll do really well. Just on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with him, I think the big problem was he's got so many other options around. We're not going to offer him probably the wages that even like a smaller club might, because they're going to get him for free and just bring him in to do a job for them to score goals. And I don't know if Gary's got the stats or if he knows the stats, but I think over the past 3 or 4 seasons, he scored less than 10 goals in total over that period. And assists, he's had less than 10 assists. Is that really or someone that you want to look to be signing?
Well, I
It
wouldn't
wouldn't
think so.
surprise you if I offered him a paper game deal, but at 33, isn't he, Callum? Nearly 34. He's got to be looking at it and going, look, then my next injury might be my last. So really, I want to go to a team where I'm going to be an integral part if I can stay fit. And ultimately, he's not going to be that at us if everyone's fit. So look, we have to, things might have been a lot worse a few years ago if we didn't have the likes of Callum Wilson getting the goals that he did. The season he got the 18 goals really was the difference between us staying up and not staying up, in my opinion. But ultimately, we are going to, and it doesn't sound great when I say this, but we're going on to different levels to where he is at the moment now. And unfortunately, football's ruthless. It's one of them. It's needs must. But it does show a statement that we've announced it, because ultimately, if we know he's gone now, we're going to be in for a striker. I know that clubs are going to know that as well. So I would have liked to get the striker over the line before he left, because ultimately we're going to be paying a little bit more money now for a striker, because I know we're desperate.
Well, I don't know. I want to be positive, and I think that we're going to be in for another striker. But then again, I like to use what's happened as a way of, I don't know if it's a rule book or because it's taken us quite a bit to sign one player. So my expectations are not to like. It's not that we're going to sign a new player that quick, or I think it's going to take a little bit. Just like it, maybe not as long as Elanga, or maybe things are going to be different. But I don't want to get my hopes up. Maybe, and again, I keep disagreeing with myself. I mean, you want a proper striker, but they're not going to come to be a bench player. So, maybe a DCO is the type of player that we need. I don't know. I mean, somebody said in the chat, don't speak it into existence. But I mean, what proper center forward are you going to bring that's going to be second to Isak? Which many will be. By the way, I think Isak is one of the best in the world. So if you really, look at him pound for pound, those players are even themselves are going to realize, yeah, I'm not as good as Isak at the moment. However, it's easier said than done just to sign a player that's playing somewhere in I don't know, Holland or Germany to come here and just be a bench player. I don't know. And I don't even know what names.
As long as we're competitive, for me, Chris, we're going to be fighting in 4 competitions. There's going to be games where even if you are second choice striker, you're going to get games, because Isak cannot play 3 times a week.
Right.
He can't start 3 times a week. So someone like a Demirovic at Leverkusen, or someone like that for me, who is at its stage, he's had his injuries issues as well, so that could be a risk. But I think he'd be more than happy coming in.
But you're gonna get the people that say, well, that's a stupid signing, or that's a poor signing, or that's a. So I mean I don't know. In the striker role, I don't know. But then, what would be the next move right now? What would be Eddie Howe's next target in position wise to sign?
But I think now we've lost Wilson, I think it has to be striker. I mean, you could say it is critical as a centre back, and I've seen in the chat that according to a rumour, I don't know how legit it is, that we've put a bid in of 30 million for Scalvini at Atalanta, just waiting for Atalanta's response. So, that's something we'll come to in a second. But, for me, I'm just going to go back to Wilson. Andy, absolutely bang on, and Bauke, respectfully. Where would Newcastle be without Callum Wilson's goals when we were in a relegation battle? You know, it may have been a totally different club. And would we have got the interest from PIF if we had unfortunately been down into the mire in the Championship? So a lot of respect has to go to Callum Wilson, because, like I say, when he came to us, we certainly weren't looking like the team that we do today. And you know, rightfully as well, you've got to think it's a pay per play contract. You're fighting against Isak, potentially the world's best striker. So how many games really are you going to play? Yes, we've got loads of games to get through, but if he's only going to get paid, I mean, and he's already said, financially he's stable, he's comfortable, but with his requirement as a player, as you get older, unfortunately, you do start to seize up. You know, your knees start to play up even more, your joints, because you've been a professional footballer all your life. These things catch up with you. So he needs games, he needs time. And I'm sure wherever he goes to, whether it's a lower end of the Premier League or whether it's the Championship, he'll do whoever the service, as long as he keeps himself fit. And I think that's the thing. Moving on to DCL, I mean, the one thing you can look at, I suppose, he's been fit over the last 2 seasons. You know, I think he's played 28 games and 32 games. The biggest problem you find is, as Boki's just said, he's not hit the net. I'm going to ask you a question now. He's been in and Shelley, bless her, she'll probably give me a lot more of an answer than I can give you. But if you look at the struggles that Everton have been through over the last 2 or 3 seasons, financially behind the scenes, changing managers, not really having a formidable team that you can get that support and flow. And we've seen that with our lads when we were struggling. You know, you can put whoever you like up top. If you're not getting the service, you can't get the goals. Now, just quickly on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, over his tenure in the Premier League, 239 games, 57 goals, 18 assists. It's not brilliant. And again, it depends on which side of the time you want to sit on, because the rumours are that we've said no thank you on your agent's requirements and them coming forward. And yet on other channels, they're saying that he's in the background and Eddie's really interested. So again, it wouldn't surprise me, because he's free. And because, like I say, whoever comes in has got to sit on the bench. The one thing Dominic Calvert-Lewin gives you, and again, this is an Eddie player, because he can play left wing, he can play right wing, he can play support striker, he can play striker. He'll be good in the air, which is, in a way, is an area that we've found ourselves quite weak in the past. So he does give you a little bit of variety in the positions that he can play if you want to change the game up. And I think, like I say, again, forget the negatives, because the lad's been fit for 2 seasons, so you can't say he's injury prone at the minute.
Yeah, true. No, I think he might be. I mean, I think, but again, actually, I read that he was offered to Newcastle. Newcastle said no, thank you. So that's done and dusted there. To be fair,
you could argue when he had Rodriguez there assisting him, he was getting goals. So when he had some quality behind him,
but it was his 16 goals he scored, didn't he, in the one season?
Yeah,
14 or 16. Yeah. The one thing I would say with him is that with Isak, if he is going to be a substitute for Isak, he is good at holding the ball up. Is the one big thing. So if you're winning a game or you're needing somebody up front just to hold the ball up or flick balls on, he is quite good at that side of the game. So that's something that we'll probably struggle with for the last few seasons in regards to when we brought a sub on strike for the striker, they haven't been able to keep the ball up front. That's maybe something he could bring to the pot.
Yeah.
It's just so unfulfilling, though, isn't it? Saying it's not the signing that's going to give you the fizz, is it? Let's be honest.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all know Elanga can play up there. He played for Sweden when Isak wasn't available. But it very much reminds me of when we play Gordon up top. You know, these are 2 players that can do it, but don't look competent in front of goal for me. And I think, like I say, you do need a natural eye for goal. Not saying DCL is going to give us the natural eye for goal. But does he offer you more than Callum Wilson did? You know, and I honestly have to say, yes, he does, because of his variation when he can play, his aerial ability.
Well,
we know Callum can jump, you know. But DCL's 28. You know, he's really coming. I mean, he's not at the beginning of his prime, But if he can keep himself fit and, like I say, get the supply, you will get goals out of him. He's just not the name that everybody wants.
So that's somebody that we need to look for. Scalvini is another one that we've been linked last week. You guys talked about it, and then now there is an ITK. I don't know. There's an ITK on X that has said that we made a bid for him for £30 million. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's true, if it isn't, but I know that we rumored that we've been rumored with him. So I don't know. Is he? I mean, he's a good signing. He's a young guy as well. I think. How old is he? 21 years of age. Defender. Now, is he a center back?
Yeah,
He's
right
center
centre back.
Right centre back.
He's 21 years of age. He's playing for Atalanta. I'm not quite sure that's going to be a player that gets people excited, to be honest. I mean,
He gets me excited.
Okay,
People
well,
get me excited as well. I've watched a bit of him on YouTube. He's immense. He's immense as a defender.
Yeah.
At 21 years of age, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only concern is obviously the
CL.
one thing it's his injuries.
Yeah.
You know, you've got an ACL that kept him out over 100 days. He's had a shoulder injury that's kept him out over 100 days. So, you know, as a 21-year-old, and again, I think you've got to look at the two sides of the coin here. Players only ever get injured if they get stuck in. They don't get injured if they stay off on the feet,
Well,
like Lloyd Kelly. You know what I mean? You'll never see Lloyd Kelly get an injury because he doesn't get involved in a tackle. So as much as it pains me to say that it's a gamble on Scalvini, you know what you're going to get is a solid guy who's going to get through the tackle. And I mean, some of the tackles on some really high-performing centre forwards you've seen from this lad. But then you go to that next level. You not only will get the ball back for you, but he's a typical Italian player. Doesn't panic on the ball. Doesn't just hoof it. He'll try and still play the pass forward into feet. And I think, you know, for me, it's just that little bit of quality that I want to start seeing, rather than just the old-fashioned centre backs. You know, the Dan Burns of the world, where yes, they'll win you the ball back, but they'll always look for that simple pass out to somebody else who can deliver the ball. I want to start seeing some of our players at the back to start delivering the ball from the back of quality.
He's been compared to Alessandro Bastoni. He is an Inter player, I think, as well. So, look, I mean, we got to get him in, though. You know, as long as we get him in, and then we'll see. We'll figure it out. But, I mean,
He's not shy getting forward either. He's not shy getting forward at all.
I think he's a natural sort of replacement for Shaw, from what I've seen. And he is that type of bring the ball out from the back sort of defender. Rather than
if you think about it though, from Margay to Scalvini, I think is a difference in present talent. I think Margay is a player that's ahead of him. And so if you go from him to Scalvini, I'm not too sure. I'm not sold on it yet. I'm not sold on it. And look, it can have a great future. So I'm not disputing that. And I like Italian players and defenders because they make defenders, man. So that's what they do. But you know, so it could happen. It could happen. But somebody said that we put in a bid for him for $30 million. I'm not sure.
Just on Gahey there, Chris. I mean, I remember obviously everyone's talking about Scalvini's injury record, and rightly so. Had he not been injured, the argument would be, I think Scalvini would probably be on par with Gahey in sense of exposure, reputation.
Yes.
We've also got to remember, the good thing that we've got with Scalvini is if we use Gahey as a representative point, he had a season with Crystal Palace just over a year and a half ago where he missed the majority of the season, and he came into the team at the end of the season. So it shows you that just because you have had an iffy injury record in the past, at that age, that you can come in and hit the ground running and not be out all the time, because Gahey's really been an ever-present for Palace since.
Yeah, true. And I don't know what's going to happen with Gahey. Is he actually going to Liverpool? Is he? What's going on there? I have not heard anything.
No, I think that they're still trying to work. I mean, 35 million. If Liverpool do land him, I think at the minute 35 million. Yeah. I think the
we're talking about Mark
Gay.
Gay.
Yeah,
35 million.
yeah, because he's down to his final year.
Why are we not paying that?
Well, we offered. We went in for him, and he's not interested.
No way. Wait. Is that?
Listen, as soon as Liverpool come sniffing, mate, they're champions of the Premier League.
I understand that, but I've never read that he declined Newcastle.
Well, it's not about declining. I think we asked. I think it's like everything else. Your agents go in there and inquire, and as soon as Liverpool come on board, the Northeast went quiet, and it was only ever Liverpool that was.
That's an inferiority problem, man. We can't feel like that.
He's picking the wrong Dutch master centre back to play alongside. That's what he's doing.
But you've got to also think, though. I think what the delay is now is the fact that there's still Canate. Canate's told them that he's not going to sign another contract. So Mark Gay, and he deserves to do this. He's asking the question now. The other thing is that they had Kwanzaa. Now they've lost him. So now they need a centre back to either they can play a 3 at the back or they can go with 2 with 1 on the bench. So do you take Canate out the team? I mean, there was talk about there's going to be a gentleman's handshake with Mark Gay staying at Crystal Palace to have another season of full football, and for them then Canate to go on a free and Mark Gay to come on a free. And it was Crystal Palace who snubbed that. They want to sell him because they know this is the only chance they're going to get money for him.
And by the way, on Scalvini, Tonali can do some work there. Tonali can be like, look, man, come and play with me. Look, Tonali is an important player in Italy right now. So I guarantee you he can have a conversation with anybody, especially younger than him, and say, look, come here, man. Come over here. It's a great town, whatever. He can get it done. But I did read that Atalanta is not really happy to sell him. So that can kind of screw things up. But Forest are not happy either. People having chatting that Forest fans are having a meltdown. And, it's understandably so, I guess. I don't blame people. They got to do what they got to do. But especially in content creation, people, just YouTubers, you got to have a meltdown show. So I don't know. If it happened to us, if all of a sudden one of our best players leaves, and look, they can take our right wing, a star right wing for last season. I won't be crying. They can have him.
Right, careful what you wish for, Chris.
Oh well, there you go. Maybe it's not. Maybe he's going to start over Elanga. Who knows? We're assuming Elanga is going to start.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
And by the way, with Eddie, trust me, I think Murphy will get the right away first, and then we might see Elanga halfway through the season.
I would take a bet on Murphy starting the first game of the season.
Yeah, I think you will.
An amazing preseason. You put money on Murphy starting.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. I read as well that Matteo Guendouzi is somebody that Aston Villa and Newcastle are going to battle over the ex-Arsenal midfielder. Nobody talks about midfield, man. Midfield. I guess we got Willock, but and Lewis Miley, and then
they're still questioning Willock about Crystal Palace, Fulham. There's still a lot of interest in there. But again, this is all about them losing players. These teams are very much in a very similar situation to us, and that's why at the minute, even the likes of Arsenal are finding it very difficult to get players to sign the dotted line. It's not a gimme anymore where players just go unless you're playing or going for guys that have got release clauses that want to come to your club. It becomes quite easy then when you can pay out the wodge and get players over the line. So, I understand all the gimmies. For me, it's a case of just getting the player that fits. It's about getting numbers in now. Like we said about Longstaff. It's lovely to see Longstaff taking wickets for Tynemouth Cricket Club. But I want him to start. If he stays a black and white, then he should start thinking about pulling his bloody socks up and getting involved in some of these games, to a level. But he's another one now that we've got to start being ruthless with. Same as Willock. Willock, to me now, is more injury prone than Wilson was. So he just needs to get gone.
Joseph Arkle says, I'd have took Brentford forward. Who? Mbomo? Or who? Or no, the other one.
Wissa.
Yeah, that's true. Wissa. Why are we not in for Wissa? I guarantee you, there's not a single Premier League club that wants Wissa, and that has nothing to do That's not to do with Wissa's talent, but he's not probably the marketing guy that everybody's talking about, because
No.
there's always that guy like Mbumo. Everybody's talking about Mbumo, but Wissa is underrated, man.
He got more goals in open play than Brembo as well.
that's what I would have gone for, but and he probably could have been a good. He probably would have taken that, accepted that role, and be like, okay, I'll fight for my role. And he doesn't look like he's scared to fight for his position. Trust me. So I think he could have been a good one. But that's you gotta have that open mind, man. You gotta have that. I don't know.
The squad's getting decimated as well as it stands. If Mbembo does move, they've just lost Nottingham to Arsenal. I'd be surprised if Wissa does stay there. If them two are gone and there's no replacement.
I guarantee you, Wissa would say yes to Newcastle in a heartbeat.
Shaw has been like that as well, apparently as well from Spurs.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams are getting players now, getting strong, and again, we talk a lot, man, but we got one player over the line. We're still about the same team, So, I don't want to be negative, but that's the reality of the situation right now. That although I think that we got a squad to finish in fourth and then fight for Champions League, it's going to be difficult. Something. If we were in the Carabao Cup, right, and then out of the FA Cup, we got kicked out of the FA Cup way too easily and quickly. In my estimation, nobody cared because we were in the Carabao Cup, whatever. But if that happened with a squad like that, imagine adding Champions League and what it means. We're going to be, if we keep maintaining the same squad, we're probably going to fight for Champions League, which is good. We're going to prioritize the Champions League tournament, and we might just get decimated for the Carabao Cup and FA Cup, and we might not have enough. So that's what I'm saying. We still got a lot of work to do. And I don't know when's the window close. Are they gonna give us a week back?
September.
September the 1st. I'm going to say that's what I thought it was.
September the 1st, really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, we still got a long time then. September the 1st. Wait,
Got 5 games in, isn't it? 4
Just
games
after
in.
the
I'm saying I'm talking about no. How many days? How many days we got until the window closes to sign a player? September the 1st. We got like 2. How many months is that?
Month and a half.
A month and a half, yes.
Okay.
So I said another 6 weeks of the. That's what I said. I don't think I could never understand why people were panicking when you've got so long. The biggest thing is, and again, you've got to start bedding your players early, and I think that, and I say that with a bit of tongue in cheek, no pun intended. To get formations and to get movement and get a team bonding together, and I think that's why Eddie Howe was very open and saying that he wanted at least 2 through the door from the 7th, and it's just to get them grounded within a Newcastle way. It's nothing worse than having players start a pre-season with a club, learn their way, and then bring them over to us to try and learn our way. And you often find that players get a little bit confused in systems. Mm-hmm. So I understand that from Eddie Howe. But like I say, it's not as easy as people think by just throwing money at them, especially when you haven't got a big pot of money to play with.
I think one point to make is from the close of the summer window last season to where we're at the moment, say Elanga has said or is about to sign, we're still a player down. In that Miggy and Callum have left, so we've replaced Miggy, but we haven't replaced anybody else. Yeah, so there's still a hell of a lot of work to be done with that squad. Because it was even short.
I mean, there's a couple of lads that are coming back. You've got to understand. We've got Pivas. We've not even had a look at yet. We've got Salia, who's his striker, 17-year-old striker that's been out with Dynamo Tbilisi. He comes back when he's 18, so that should be any time soon now that he should be joining the lads. It'd be for me, is it Eddie's way now of having a look at these lads to say, can they step up to the line? I mean, he's only 18, for me, the player I would really seriously look at for supporting Isak is Kiliksoy, at Besiktas. Really good player, 19-year-old, seems to have all of, what Eddie Howe looks for position-wise. So It's certainly and something like 30 million euros. Besiktas would be happy to see, the back of him. It's really weird.
Thank you, Hell Cesar, for
Yes.
donating a gift and membership. Appreciate
Thanks,
it, mate.
Sean.
It's going to Stephen Fawcett. So congrats, Stephen. Become a member, super chat, super sticker, help the channel grow and fund itself. Appreciate everybody that helps out. If not, just hit that like button. It's free, and you help us grow and reach more people. So appreciate all of that, Sean. Just now, 14 minutes ago, I think, Mr. Luke Edwards debunking the theory that we have made an offer for Scalvini. And I was telling you, in ITK said that we made an offer. Well, Luke Edwards saying that Newcastle have an interest in Giorgio Scalvini, but there has been no contact with Atalanta yet, and no bid has been made yet. One to keep an eye on, as he said last month. He's saying, Luke Edwards has a lot of self-references, man. You stop using yourself as a source, man. I have a suspicion that the center back signing will be a curveball, but as some of you like to tell me, what do I know? I just make stuff up for the giggles. There you go. Well, he's a playing victim there, Luke Edwards. But listen, he's for the Telegraph and the Athletic. So, well, the Telegraph, not the Athletic. One of the two, or is it the same thing? I know one. Oh, the New York Times owns the Athletic. So yeah, never mind. And that's Culkin and the other guy, Chris Wolf. So, but there you go. And there's another super chat. We got some 5 members. It's been a while since we've seen 5 gifted members. Come on, folks. Don't get lazy. Don't get lazy. Support the channel. Thank you very much, Queenie. 5 gifted memberships. They've gone to Jay. Congrats, Jay. NTTV Plus membership. We're going to start doing shows for members again rather quickly. A lot of people have just been busy though, so we're gonna get to doing that. Aaron Robson, congrats. Jason Reacher, congrats, mate. William Smith and Jason Brown, congrats, and thanks to the one and only Queen of Heart for supporting the channel. Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So there you go. I guess no bid for Scalvini. But my question is this, right? So we have interest in Giorgio Scalvini, but I mean, what is it? What is interest? Like you look at it, you like him. Can we agree that an interest on a player can be that we really like this player? Like what is? Maybe they're on the fence. I don't understand.
About his availability, maybe.
Yeah, but you will
That's
never
exactly
know unless
what
you
it
ask the club.
Well, they have, but Atalanta said they don't want to sell.
Well, I mean, if
It'll
you
be a
go
bit
by,
pricey then, won't it?
fair
money.
enough. But what look at it, we're saying that we have not made contact with Atalanta. So I was going over that.
I
But,
think
you know,
that's about that ITK comment now. If I'm honest with
Where
you,
did Atlanta finish last season in Serie A? Because I had a couple of good seasons previously.
I think last season was a good one, maybe the season before. But Atalanta will be Atalanta.
So we've got a
Yeah.
few players that's been
Up and
linked back to the Premier League. Lookman's been linked.
Yeah.
That Edison that they've got in midfield is an absolute cracking player, by the way. If we don't see him in the Premier League, he'll go to La Liga. He's a top player. So Atlanta might be weighing it up. Which one of the best players that is most valuable to them to let go? Who do they want to keep the most? Probably Edison. If you would ask me, I'll Lookman, because Lookman's been the top goal scorer for them the last 2-3 seasons. He's the main man there now. So I would say, look, you're either going to have to let your midfielder go, who Man City have shown an interest in the past. Liverpool, potentially, we have. Scalvini could be just the scapegoat to balance the books and not have to lose one of the more senior players.
Yeah.
True. And you guys did mention his injury record, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think I read a comment that made me think about it. Terry says that he's got a lot of bad injuries. So I'm thinking, though, that possibility that you really have to be in love with a player for you to go and sign a player that's had really bad injuries. Because if you're not sure and he comes over and he hurts himself, man, that is not going to be good at all. That's not going to be good at all. So maybe the club.
We did it with Timo, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm going to say, with all these guys that have had ACLs and stuff like that, I mean, it's daft as it looks. 3 out of our back 4 could have had an ACL injury. But having worked on a lot of ACLs in the past and spoke to players that have had them, they reckon it's stronger. They feel stronger post the event because of the, well, again, I say, those that have had the decent repairs. There's different levels of repair, obviously, but the ones that I've spoken to in the past say that the knee feels stronger after the repairs. I don't know how true that is, but I mean, there is a deficiency within a knee when ACLs go. But I mean, you've only got to look at the other day. I mean, an innocuous challenge from the goalkeeper, and the player's going to be out for over 12 months. Yeah, it was dislocation and compound fracture. So you've got a double whammy there of the ankle. So it's between 8 and 14 months the recovery time, and then you've got to get back to fitness. So he could be out for like the best part of a year and a half, a season and a half. That to me is the scary part.
The good thing
if you bought somebody.
Sorry, Gary.
Mate. No, I was going to say anybody can get an injury at any point. That's what I was trying to make. It's a physical game, football. As much as we see a lot of players rolling around in agony when you've got a flick of the ear, when you see an injury like that, where you get that compound fracture on top of a dislocation, you start saying to yourself that could be career ending. And if you forked out 40, 50, 60 million on a player and you get to that, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, and bless him, Diego Jota. And I'm going to have to mention it. Yeah. Look how much, bless them. As much as it pains me, Liverpool are doing an absolutely amazing thing by whatever contract Jota was left, they're going to pay his family out. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing.
But, again, Liverpool have got to go out and try and find a replacement for this lad for no fault of their own, and this is the risk that you have sometimes.
And at least these injuries aren't, you get reoccurring, like, for example, sorry to use him as an example, but Wilson's injuries were always muscle injuries where he's, overstressing his muscles. Scalvini's okay, it's an ACL, but that can happen from being twisted in a challenge, or, his shoulder would have been potentially a landing or a challenge.
It was like the way Murphy did his, when he went down on an angle. And sometimes your shoulder can just pop again without any, without knowing about it. It's just one of them things, the way you land. And again, it depends on the repair post event. You know what I mean? How strong it is. And we've seen with Pope, how much more confident he feels and looks now since he's had that repair done to his shoulder dislocation. So, yeah, you can get over these things. But like I say, it's a gamble for any player that comes in.
I think you have to take in consideration injuries that players have had in the past. But as you say, Gary, you can't base the full siding on that, because any player that comes in could just get a dodgy tackle or have a dodgy fall and be out for a season. So
yeah, it's gone. Oh, but look, I mean, I ain't being funny. Look, we lost Tonali for a season for gambling. I mean,
for gambling, yeah.
I mean, no fault of our own, and you've just paid out 50 million for him.
Right, very true. All right. So last news I had here is that we've been linked with Marseille player. What's his name? Leonardo Balerdi. It says a Marseille fan once went on a hunger strike in a bizarre protest against. What was that about?
He unfortunately had the misfortune of getting sent off in one game. He missed a penalty in another game, and a fan decided to go up to the training ground and try and stop him or get him, sacked from the club. And
that is good information to know before we sign him.
Crazy, man, absolutely crazy. But I mean, to be fair, you've only got to look at this lad. He's a lad that goes to ground quite easy. He dives in. I he'd be down my pecking order on centre halves to go and sign.
He's got ability, though, mind. Honestly, it's just he has that Christian Romero in him.
I was going to say that, man.
Got him in him.
Yeah. Well, he's gotten sent off many times as well. So
yeah.
I remember one game against Chelsea. I remember one game against Chelsea, and boy, those fans were mad. But look, I don't know. We just gotta make a signing. We're gonna be linked with players. We got our first signing now. Elanga joining the ranks of the Toon. We're going to have to see. I read somewhere that he should be available to go to Austria. Is that where we're going?
Yeah.
Austria?
Yeah.
To play. Is that who we're playing for? Celtic? No, we're playing Celtic.
No,
Celtic
Scotland,
aren't
we? Celtic's the background.
So why can't he be on for that? What's the?
No idea.
Okay, so they're just talking shit. Anyway, let's go with the comments before we go off.
I just wanted to go on what I've just put up there from Iniesta.
Okay.
This was a really good point, actually. He's been blamed, and this was another point of the people were pointing the finger. He slides to the ground because of his effort. He hasn't got the effort on recovery. They reckon he's just lazy, so he'll go to ground and try and get the tackle in, knowing full well that he's not going to get the tackle in, and the players just beat him anyway. Because he hasn't got the recovery pace. So again, there's been a lot of rumours about this guy that aren't favourable, and there's a guy who's in our chat many a time, Foxy, who obviously watches a lot of European football, also said this guy wasn't great.
All right, Jordy Dance, the Telegraph have a good article on why he is a perfect Eddie. He's perfect for Eddie and Newcastle. Talking about Elanga, we might take a look at that and make a show out of it. Who knows? Top Boy Junior, Rhythm is a dancer. Anthony Elanga, you won't stop him if you dare. He's from Scandinavia. Oh, he's making up a song already. Okay. Stephen Arker, no overspend on Elanga. Going rate prices are crazy. There you go. Sir Galahad said we still need 5 more new signings for squad depth. Gotta look abroad for better value. Team Season says, Gary, Chris, please can you explain to me how DCL is a good deal for us? Because if I came to you with a striker who scored 5 goals in the last 2 seasons, played 57 games, would you think he would score? I'm not making a case for him.
No. So I said there's a lot of doubt over whether he's lost that ability to find the onion sack, and that's the only reason you'd buy him, isn't it, to find the net?
Yeah, Mackenzie Family says Newcastle made a bid totaling 30 million for George Scalvini today, just waiting for Atalanta to respond. All right, well, there you go. Says, do you think we will be able to control games better with James Trafford and more possession football?
Interesting how James Trafford's gone back to Burnley to start his pre-season training. Like I said, I saw it come up. It flashed up to say that he'd signed, and then was took straight back down. And I said, earlier on in the week, has there been an issue? Has there been a problem?
Yeah.
There's plenty of time to say your goodbyes, Andy.
The other side is that Newcastle decided not to release that he's being signed until they've got another player in, because I know the negativity that there'll be for teams to keep us straight away.
Maybe so.
Well, listen, if they were quick enough to say that they've got Ruddy on another year, trust me, the Trafford signing's nothing.
Well, that is true, actually. Yeah, they did say that he was a.
Can I just ask Harry a quick question on Ruddy?
Yeah.
Why didn't they just make him a coach?
Exactly. There's no reason.
I think that I keep saying this. There's a number of reasons. Why did Man City keep hold of what's his name, the goalkeeper that's been there 15 years?
Yeah, but that's one though. That's one.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can give excuses to the cows come home. I think it's like everything else. If something happens at this present moment in time, they're on about getting rid of Black. Howe apparently he's on the verge of finding a club. That's what he's been told, apparently. So now Ruddy becomes your third keeper, because they wouldn't risk Black. If, say, Popey gets injured in a pre-season game, you've still got Dubravka as your main man. Ruddy would be your second man, because if they are serious of getting Oddy out the door, which it seems very much they are, they have to try and find another keeper. And like I said, to me, there's something not right with Trafford. I don't know what it is, but it just seems as though that one is the one that's taking the longest. And for him to go back to Burnley and start his pre-season training at Burnley, I'm not sure whether it's going to carry on.
Apparently, we're after some Brazilian goalkeeper pairing from France.
France, yeah. They say they're also looking out now at other goalkeepers, which again makes me feel as though the Trafford deal could be off.
Could we not just go to Liverpool and get Mavidashvili on loan for a season?
No, that ship has sailed. All right, so where's Win? I thought he'd be here over the moon. I talked to Win right before the show. He said he was going to be on in 30 minutes, but he looked agitated. He was in a vehicle and the windows were foggy. So I don't know, man. Something was going on. It looked like the Titanic scene. It looked like the Titanic scene with the hand behind him, So I don't know. I don't know.
Like 2 ferrets in a sack.
He made it
Anybody
to
from the North East is at St Mary's Lighthouse.
There you go. There you go.
The dogging spot.
The dogging spot.
Keep an eye out for Win, man. Keep an
Someone
eye
put in
out
the
for Win.
postcode for us, please.
Yeah, you can't miss it, Ant.
Heck yeah. Anyways, folks, it's been a good show. We'll be back tomorrow again, late night, 9:30. So please join us. Thank you to everybody that's donated, that's super chatted, that's gifted memberships. We'll be back tomorrow once again. And anyways, take care. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Bogey. Thank you, Gary. We will see you all on the next one, folks. Take care.
Well,
We're the lads, lasses, and bands.
There you go.